PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holy Snokes on the PLD Project. The final episode of The Acolyte has dropped, and we are here to talk about it. I am your host, PLD. If this is your first time here, that like, that subscribe, click on all that good stuff. Help us beat the algorithm. 5-star reviews on the audio side. And join patreon.com/PLD Projects, where I can help you get more material and things of that nature. Good crew over there like Austin Cadell and Brendan Buckingham. Love those guys, and it's been really cool to hang out with them. And yeah, but this week is going to be a fun week, I think. An interesting conversation for sure. And as always, I am here with I don't know what I call you this week. I always try to find a fun thing to call you, but I always have to revert. You're my partner, you're my hetero life mate at this point. You're my partner, my friend.
That was PJ.
Well, right now you're my hetero life mate.
Okay.
I'm a slut. I kind of go back and forth between hetero life mates, but on this channel.
I'm just impressed you finally got the plugs in under a minute and a half into the podcast.
I'm learning eventually.
But you did it on the final episode of the fucking show.
Better late than never, Matty. Matty Gunner is your name, and actually, you never even said that during your introduction. Matty, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. We're here, and now the end is here.
And I'm not gonna start singing. It was a very powerful yet divisive ending. I'm not surprised because
how is it? Okay, here's the thing. First, there's no fire in space. Second. What was the second one? It was like it was something.
It Monday's birthday, probably.
It breaks all canon. You got Egghead's birthday wrong. The NPC Jedi didn't have any names.
The red shirts.
Oh no, he's hot. The whole episode's a flashback. Like, what's the gripe this week? I haven't looked. So what the hell is the gripe this week?
I don't think there's any specific gripe that we've seen from anybody. And I want to say divisive in terms of it just seems like this whole show has been a little divisive. And I will say there's the divisive side, which we don't need to talk about. The people you're talking about, I don't even know what their gripe is. But I will say there's also definitely some legitimate critique of the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's always critique of the show. That's what art is for. Art is subjective.
I have some critiques of this episode for sure. I said it before air. I'll say it now, even before we get into it. This episode was very difficult for me to talk about because there's parts I absolutely love and there's parts I absolutely struggled with. I will say at the end of the day, I think it was a worthy story entry into the Star Wars universe. I'm happy we got it. I'm overall positive on the experience. I do think we should get a season 2. I'm hoping we get a season 2. But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that I didn't have some major struggles at times, including this episode, which I found to still be one of the better episodes of the season. That's it really in the nutshell. It's like, there's I guess the way I described it best, and then I'll let it talk to you and then we'll go into the actual episode, is I think the macros were there. The micros was where I struggled. And what I mean by that is the big picture storyline of Leslie Headland, what she wanted to tell, the story she wanted to tell, the characters she wanted to develop. I think they're all very good. I think they're very powerful. I think on paper, this looks really great. I struggle with the micros, which is some of the execution. Some of the execution, I'll say right off the bat, fight choreography has been splendid. I love the fight choreography. Some of the best we've seen since the prequels. And it's really, I'm excited as all hell to talk about that.
It's funny because that was one of the things I have a little bit of a criticism about.
Oh, interesting. This is how subjective it is.
A minor one, but
okay. I definitely see the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon this week for sure. But beyond that, I think that there was some problems with the execution in terms of some character motivations, some teasing, some telling some things, maybe not going deep enough in some areas and going too deep in some other areas. And I just kind of felt confused sometimes about what exactly some things were happening. There's sometimes during this episode, I was like, wait, I went with it. At the end, I was satisfied overall, but I still have these things to discuss. And we're going to get into it big and long and big right now. But what about you? What's your overall thought from the beginning? And so
I'm really glad I went into this blind. I really am.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the early on speculation that I am now familiar with would have made this show worse for me.
Hmm.
A lot of the discussion about who might show up, when this is going to take place, what this is going to mean for the future canon. I was actually talking to our friend Jeff Alterman about this earlier today. Jeff is someone who's very lukewarm on Star Wars, like very lukewarm on Star Wars. Even he said that he enjoyed this, and that surprised me because from conversations that me and Jeff had in the past about Star Wars, he's been, as I mentioned, very lukewarm on it.
Yes, absolutely. I had similar conversations with him. He was very positive about it. And for some of others are not as positive, but mostly he was very positive. Some other people I found were positive who have been not so positive in the past. And I'm like, okay, interesting. This whole discourse has been so interesting. As much as I hate the discourse, there's an inner circle of discourse which I find fascinating.
Yeah, it's how can I put this in a way, like, this show has really enlightened me to how little I truly care about canon. Like how little, like, I truly do not care. As long as the story is good and it can be told and the creator tells the story they get to tell. What it also showed me is the limitations of Disney Plus and streaming and these limited series events. I think we need to stop with these limited series events. If you are going to call them limited series events, specify that, hey, this is a one-off story. Nothing is coming from it. Same with, I'm going to say the same about Kenobi. If that was truly a one-off, let it be a one-off. But 8 episodes, you can have 8 episodes. And I'm not, Paul, how long have we been doing this show? I am not one of these people that decries episode length. For a story that is this deep, Leslie Headland should have been allowed more time.
I agree.
Should have been allowed more time.
I will say really quick about episode length. I will be one of those people who starts decrying episode length a little bit, not because it needs to, not because like I need it's not about like how short it's how much this story needs. And I think this series for sure struggled and needed more, like more time to breathe, a little more time to kind of expand on some of this stuff, maybe make some of those motivations come up a little bit more not realistic is not the right word I'm looking for, but it's more believable to a degree, more understandable. You kind of get that way.
I think that's a good word. Understandable. I think the points were there, and this is something I want to talk about. I think artistically the story was there. It's just the little bits around it, like the episode length, the structure, how it was possibly like moved around behind the scenes, kind of a deal. I'm not saying that Filoni had anything to do with it, but I'm sure that he was advising to make it Star Wars. There was the infamous interview, right, between Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, where Kathleen Kennedy told her, "Okay, you've made a great Star Wars show. Now go and make a good Leslie Headland show." And I think there was that trying to find the balance between the two that kind of cut off the story. Like I would have loved for her to have gone full on Russian doll,
right?
But they didn't get the chance to this time around.
Agreed. And I think that it's part of the reason I'll own this is that as much as I love the connectivity to things, and I do, how much I love the connectivity to things. Sometimes I feel like maybe a story should be disconnected. Like to a degree at this point. I almost feel like, for example, I know actually I listened to, I haven't listened to the Force Center podcast about this episode because it hasn't come out yet. But they were talking about it yesterday's episode, the news episode. I believe that's where it was. And they were mentioning how awesome it's going to be to get to Skeleton Crew. Because it feels like that, even though it's connected to the Mandoverse, feels like it might be a more like a old school whimsical adventure that just kind of like has its own thing going on. It mentioned specifically talking about the Sean Levy movie, which we're going to talk about at the news at the end. We always talk about the news at the end of the show. Same kind of thing. It might be Not exactly. Like a no-name character going out having adventure of his life in a galaxy far, far away, not needing to connect to the overall story as much. I think maybe we could use something like that as a kind of like a refresher, a breather, so to speak, in a way. Kind of get like take a pause, take a breath, and come back and do more to it. I mean, Dave Filoni did that very well, I think, in like Rebels, for example. Rebels season 1 was very disconnected. I mean, didn't really feel. I mean, they had some moments, yes, but overall, it felt like its own thing. And then it was only on season 2, 3, and 4 where kind of like, okay, we get this now. Now let's see how it fits into the overall piece. And I think that's what we kind of need to get a little bit better balance of. This one did this a lot of the time, but there was so much canon ideas or like ideas of what this was all leading to that kind of it struggled where it was going to go, I think. And where it ended up still is good, but there's some issues there beneath the surface.
And I also think that it cannot be denied, and I will not let it be denied, that Leslie Headland understands the lore, the deep Legends lore. She understands it. I mean, look at the character of Yor. That was one of her old from the what was it, the tabletop RPG game?
Mm-hmm.
She created that character back then. So like that's how deep her knowledge and her love for this goes. It's not a Tony Gilroy situation where he's come in and he's just like, I don't really like Star Wars, but this is cool. Like,
right.
She genuinely like loves this. So everyone that's like, oh, she ruined canon, she ruined it. Shut up. She probably knows more about it than you do.
I will actually say what's funny about that is like some of the worst critics, the worst people who were anti-Disney, Star Wars, etc., whatever you want to say, like this, they scream and cry about they want Legends. That Legends shouldn't have been discontinued. That should have been the marker. They should have just basically adapted some Legends materials going forward. Whatever. I mean, I disagree with them, but they love the Legends book. And you know what? I get that. I love the Legends book as well. I'm just more open to change. However, Leslie Headland is the first creator that I've conceived that is so much, in a way, one of them. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there has not been a push of interest toward Legend stories in any way before this show. I have seen multiple people on timelines saying, should I read the Plagueis books? Oh, what about what happens?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. And I said to them, dude, it's a great story anyway.
That's what I said too. I said, I think it's a wonderful story. Like, James Luceno is like one of the greatest writers we had during Star Wars Legends era. You're getting interest in Legends because she likes that stuff. Yeah, I get you might not like how they've been cherry picking some things and not others, because when you do that, you're going to cherry pick something that you don't like, and maybe you'll leave out something that you do like. That's part of the game, unfortunately. But the fact is, at least they're looking back now. They're looking back to those honored, sacred texts that you guys love so much and everything else. It just feels like this is a good thing. This is a connectivity between like eras and stuff. This
is the new EU.
Yeah. Yes, and the new in a way is like I said, I mentioned that before. I believe a couple episodes ago. I felt like this was like more or less expanding out the lore in ways that we haven't seen yet, and it continued to do so in this episode. By the way, some of the best things about this episode were bringing some of that stuff to life and bringing some of that stuff into live action and going, "Wow, okay, this is how this." Awesome! I'm excited to see this and how this goes forward. But you know what? We've been kind of just overviewing a lot, doing a little bit of a postmortem. Let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of this episode, and then we can maybe, if we need to wrap it up at the end with it, we'll come back to it as the postmortem. But let's get into our actual segments. This is how we actually break the episode specific down, and at the end, like I said, we'll come back and finish up the postmortem of it if we have more to say that hasn't been said during this. Our first segment that we always talk about. It's always kind of funny to go into this one after a serious discussion, but I gotta do it. It is part of our in our contract, as we say. Our first segment, Hondo Watch 2024.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me!
Does Hondo Ohnaka finally make his return in this episode? The answer, my friends.
This effort is no longer profitable!
All right, what are you talking about? Who was that in the post-credit?
What? Yeah.
That wasn't Hondo?
Yeah, don't you dare. I looked to see if there's a post-credits, damn it. Yeah, there's been times I haven't. I actually looked to make sure there was a post-credits this time. Hondo Ohnaka, our favorite character, our patron saint of this show. Yeah, he's not going to be in this. We kind of knew he wasn't going to be in this. Obviously,
he's definitely not going to be in it now that it's over.
Now that it's over, it's all over. It's all over. We're looking forward to Skeleton Crew where he makes his return. That's our prediction. That's our free force vision ahead of time. Hondo Appear returns in Skeleton Crew. Okay. That being said, let's move on to the actual next segment, the first actual segment of the week now for this show, the Acolyte of the Week.
But an Acolyte kills the dream.
Who was your favorite character of the week, Maddie?
I'm going to give you two.
Okay.
I'm going to give you my Acolyte of the week, and I'm going to give you my Acolyte of the show.
Okay. I like that.
My Acolyte of the week, Renestra Roar.
Same. You start.
This is solely because this is solely because of how we have read her character from the High Republic books until now. The character arc from her being this great, powerful, brave, noble Jedi to doubling down on the lie in front of the Senate, in front of a tribunal, essentially being the whipping Jedi, literally because of her light whip, and she is now the scapegoat for the Senate, and doubling down on Saul's lie, selling him out.
Yeah,
that is I know you haven't read Temptation of the Force yet.
Right.
There is a point A, point B. I don't know how the fuck we're going to get to point C, which is the Acolyte. But I want to find out.
I've heard a little bit about that. So, I mean, not a whole lot, but I do hear that there's signs that it's there potentially. But yeah, no, I agree. I will say I criticized, I forget the actor. I know it's Leslie Headland's partner. I'm sorry. I can't remember her name. I forget off the top of my head. I criticized her performance the first 5-6 episodes. I didn't really get much from her. I was like, okay, this is kind of whatever. She's fine. She's in the background. Rebecca Henderson. Thank you.
Just think your movie wife, Rebecca Ferguson.
Correct. And just put Henderson on it.
Henderson.
No, I feel like I didn't love her performances throughout overall. They're kind of like she was just there. I wanted more for her, maybe because I knew her from the books, so didn't quite hit my goal. This episode, she gave me a performance which I really appreciated. I really thought she was there this episode, far more than before. She had moments of strength, moments of weakness, moments of passion, moments of stoicness. That was not just I'm not acting. Sometimes stoicness can be I'm not acting. Sometimes stoicness is acting well to be like you're not acting. And I think that she performed this pretty well this time. So like the character we have,
Keanu does that well.
Keanu does that very well. We had the Senate hearing, which was great. The talk with Ray in court, which was great. We had the moment when she steps off on the Brendock and she senses Kamir basically confirming one of the theories and my wife's theory for sure, and your theory as well.
I'm sorry, whose theory?
My wife's theory as well.
Whose theory?
My wife said it since episode 1.
What, that he was Vanessa, that he was a failed Padawan, that he was Vanessa's Padawan?
Yes.
Yes.
The first block of episodes, she said he's a failed Jedi, and he was probably Vanessa's Padawan. She said that. Hey, you got it too. I mean, you got it separately. It's everybody can have these. You're not the only.
I don't talk to Kim unless it's in a conversation with you. So
that's what I'm saying.
If Kim had got that from the off, I will give her all the credit.
It was definitely okay. I shouldn't claim it was definitively the first block.
No, she is the better half of the Denuzo marriage.
Oh, absolutely. She came up with a theory before I did. I'll tell you that much. She said before I even talked. So she had that theory as well, obviously confirming that he was the failed Padawan of Vanessa Rowe.
Then I will put my pride and my ego aside. Mrs. Denuzo, well done.
Well done. She hasn't even seen the finale yet. She got home too late. We're going to watch it again later on tonight. So she has no idea that she's right. But no, I think that was a great moment. I thought that was a great moment as well for Vanessa. So definitely, I agree with you. my favorite character of the week. I had a lot of other characters that I liked, but they all kind of, to be honest with you, the inner workings of the characters were some of my struggles this episode, which we'll get into in a little bit. Maddie, you had an acolyte of the year, so to speak, acolyte of the series. Who's that?
I thought at the start of this show, I was going to be part of the Soul Squad.
Soul Squad, Soul Patrol, all of them, yeah.
Whatever Chimere's fan club is called, I'm in.
You're all in on Chimere.
I even said when I was talking to Jeff earlier, I even said I'm all in on Chimere. Give me more.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, but
we know he ain't around at the Phantom Menace.
That's true. That's very true. Well, I don't think any of them really are. Well, some of the aliens might be. I will say also really quick out of there, quick to turn. I wish we had more aliens. I still feel like at $180 million show, we could have had a few more aliens.
We got quite a few. They were just NPCs.
Yeah, but even like the whole Jedi, all the Jedis that went were pretty much human with, or like the kind of not really alien, like where it's like a little bit of like basically you spray paint their face blue, you put a little thing in their hair, oh, then they're aliens. I'm talking about like I love Drellic at the end. Drellic, that's an alien. I want to see more. Like if you look at Geonosis and Attack of the Clones, we had like Kit Fisto, like all these different kinds of weird exotic aliens that don't even barely look human. Or we're kind of drawn back recently to be more like, I'm gonna put some spray paint on and
white zombie more human than human.
That kind of thing, exactly. So I'd like to see a little more of that. Not the end of the world, but that's my own thing. I love Drellic. So,
but coming from the start of the show of me being like, Chimera is just a weaselly little prick. Like, I was so dismissive of him in those first few episodes. I was like, do we really need this guy? Like, what is his purpose? Right. He's just a little shit weasel. Where's the real master at?
That's fair.
And then episode 5 happened.
Right.
I'm not just saying this to objectify the man.
Yeah.
But he is going to, like, what's he going to be? He's Lindsay Lohan's love interest in the Freaky Friday.
Yep.
That dude is going to go rocket ship to them. And this is what I think I saw something. This is the second most streamed show behind Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think it was. I think that initially was, yes, or something. I think the lower numbers have been.
It might have dropped, but at one time it was. Yeah. But when people see Manny Jacinto's biceps, that will skyrocket back up. But yeah, he just went from this like snidey little sniveling shit weasel to this emotionally deep, fractured, flawed, angry young man that I'm just like, dude, I feel you. Like everything you say, like, yes, I'm in. You are my guy.
I can't. I get it. I totally get it. In fact, he would almost be mine, except for I still want to give. I'm still gonna give it to Soul, and here's why. I'm gonna give it to Soul because I feel like we're almost taking him for granted because he was so strong throughout the entire we're taking like the entire performance of his entire run, the entire 8 episodes. He's been kind of like that rock. Like no matter what was happening, you knew that he was gonna put on a great performance and he was gonna do an acting job. The character himself? Yes, I'm very disappointed in him. At the end, he was still sticking to his gun that he was doing the right thing. But I almost like that to a degree because it was a little more unpredictable. Like I feel like it did fit his character because if you look at his character the way it was in the beginning, we had the flashbacks. He was very impulsive and he was very controlling and wanted to control the narrative. That's still kind of what he's doing now. He still wants to control. That's just maybe instead of growing up, that's just who he is. But he's also lost everything. Like he knows in his heart he did some things wrong, but he's been like believing the lie for so long, and I think he's kind of convinced himself of it to a degree. And there is some truth in it as well. He did do everything for Osha, but was it for the right reasons, or because Osha was going to be his Padawan and he wanted a Padawan? It's that kind of like, you're doing some good and you're doing some bad. What are your motivations exactly? Are they real? But the performance was there throughout, and he was involved in some of the great fight sequences of all of them. Him and Chimere together. So I really enjoy Soul throughout. I don't want him to get kind of, oh, well, yeah, I want to find my, because of course Soul was good. Let's see who else is good. Like, I want to give him the credit for the entire show.
I mean, it's that old phrase, right? Stand on conviction and you will walk alone. Like,
yes,
he stood on his convictions.
Yes.
And he had to walk alone at the end.
Mm-hmm. And walk alone he did. Walk alone he did. And he has a very tragic ending on every level. I mean, not only does he get the first in canon on-screen force choke death at this point.
Way to kill a Jedi without a weapon, by the way.
Acknowledging, yeah, I loved that aspect of it. But he also has to shoulder the blame in order for Venestra to continue on against the Senate oversight, which is, again, a very fascinating idea, because it's like we're trained to believe in the Jedi. Mm-hmm. We're trained to believe the Jedi are good. The Jedi are all the powerful. But it's not like the Senate, and we're trained to believe politicians are wrong and evil and impulsive and manipulative, and all that can be true. However, it made me at least kind of go, maybe the Jedi should have some external oversight. There is a lot to that makes sense, considering all the mistakes that they've made over the years. And it's not me saying the Jedi are evil. I think that is a very narrow viewpoint that some viewers have had. Like, they're making the Jedi bad and the Sith good. No, it's not, they're not saying the Jedi are bad. There are some Jedi that are corrupted. There are, just like any large organization, I think the overall Jedi message is still one of truth, justice, helping. That's the overall. I think most Jedi want to be that way, but there is some corruption, and maybe a team, basically a whole sect of basically superheroes, maybe they should have some kind of checks and boundaries with the government that they are working with the people they are working with to a degree. Does it go too far? Absolutely, it does go too far. But it shows you why that's happening in the first place. In a way, it makes it actually go, okay, I almost see why they're going with the Senate a little bit here, because it makes sense.
That's a very dangerous line to tread, because then you're mixing church and state, and that is a very fine line to tread.
Absolutely. But the church is not the church. In this case, is also a league of superheroes that are governing and policing the state, the nation, universe as it is. And doing things, all of a sudden, all these murders are taking place, and they're just taking care of, well, we got this. Don't worry about it. So, yes, church and state should absolutely stay separate, but they're not just a church, are they, in a way? They're kind of a governing body of their own to a degree. They're trying to almost make a separate nation for themselves, a separate place.
They're kind of like Knights of Templar, really.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating to me. This is one of the best parts of the show for me, is the fact that it does show what happened and how they kind of got intertwined with the government a little bit. I mean, you see it a little bit in the High Republic books. They starting that. You see some of the pushback here, and you can see where it gets to by the time the prequels happen. And it does make sense. Because when you watch the prequels, you're like, how did this happen? The Jedi shouldn't be this kind of intertwined. Well, this is kind of how it happened. There's a lot of fuck ups. And all of a sudden, the council, Trellick is the Supreme Chancellor, and the Senate want to get a little more, at least, knowledge about what's going on. You can't just have all these murders in there, these superheroes running wild, and not let us know what's going on. So it makes sense that the connection starts a little bit more. But yeah, going back to it, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but the Soul taking the fall for that is such a tragic ending that I can't help but go, man, I don't know if he deserved that, but he does deserve something.
This is Leslie Headland's MO, because we thought this would happen, that Soul would be kind of used as a
that was my prediction from
not
like
a pariah,
4.
but yeah, right. He's going to be used as an example.
He would, at the ending, he would either be, I said he was going to die, and the Jedi were going to use him as a scapegoat. That's why they didn't know the Sith. They weren't going to know who the Sith were active, because
and still don't.
And they don't. Because they said that Soul was the rogue Jedi. Soul was evil purpose, and he's dead, so no issue.
And also, I will say this till I'm blue in the face. Dark side does not just mean Sith.
Full on agree, and I hate the fact that it is like all of a sudden, so fallen Jedi means they're automatically the Sith. No, there's been plenty of fallen Jedi throughout the.
You ever heard of a Lost 20?
Yeah, not a lot of them are Sith. All of them are Sith. I did the line about a people who turned evil. That's a little more. I thought that was not. I shouldn't have used that line only because if you want to say Sith, you say Sith, and if you don't say Sith, you don't say Sith. But when you say a line like that, it kind of blends it a little bit because that is what? That's the quote and the throwback of Obi-Wan talking about Anakin, who did fall, turn evil, and become a Sith Lord. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? They blend it. If you're going to use that line, that implicates something more. So I didn't love that line.
I think they were trying to point us towards Anakin the whole time. My final point about Saul being the scapegoat, being the martyr, is that it is Leslie Headland's MO of, you can predict this if you want, but I'm going to make you realize that you should not, because I'm going to do it with zero remorse, zero fear of you like turning off the TV after. I'm going to make you hate this person. And you can guess all you want. You could be right, but I'm going to make you hate that you were right. And boy, because some of the things that Saul did in this episode, I was like, you really are pathetic.
Yeah. He was pathetic. He had definitely moments of patheticness throughout, and he almost was insane by the end. I mean, hell, half the first quarter of the episode was him wandering Brendok going, bah, bah. I was like, dude.
And I know he was only trying to shoot, and we'll get into this when we talk about the episode and how I know he was only trying to shoot the wing of Mace Craft, but like still, like the fact that he was pushed to even consider that, that's not the Jedi way, dude. You're gonna take someone out before because they're gonna beat you to where you're gonna lie your ass off. That's man.
But you can disagree with the character choices, but the character himself is a cool character to watch even as he falls into such disregard. So to speak.
Like, I hate Joffrey. I can't stand that little prick.
He did his job.
He's so great. Villain, dude.
Yeah,
I've just got past the point where he
yes.
I hate that little shit. But he's so damn good. So
there is a grayness to these characters, which is good. No one's good. No one's all good. No one's all bad. And so I feel I kind of like that idea. It explores it a little bit. At the end of the day, there should be a definite Jedi are good, Sith are evil, and that's fine. But the fact that some of the characters themselves are kind of falling to this weird in between, I kind of like that because it feels like that's the way it should be. It should be it's a path, not a light switch. It's a kind of path. You kind of
all about the journey, not the destination.
Pretty much. All right, next up, I-Spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Favorite lines of dialogue this week. Maddie, go ahead. You can go first.
I feel like we might have the same one.
Okay, maybe. I have two written down. So
Jedi. Was that yours?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. You broke up in my ears.
Did I? Oh, I said, see you in hell, Jedi.
No, it was not mine. I did like it, though. A lot of people, that's one of those divisive things, which is weird. A lot of people are like, why there's no hell in Star Wars? I'm like,
why is that divisive?
Han Solo said it in Empire Strikes Back.
Han literally said it.
It's like it takes me out this season. I'm like,
my God. All right, quick side rant. These people claim to love the original trilogy so much, want George back in to just do the original trilogy again.
Pretty much.
Yeah, every time someone pays a little bit of tribute to the OT, they lose their shit.
Right.
It's just like, do you? I keep saying this. Do you really love this as much as you say you do, or are you just looking for something a bit chat?
Bing, bing. Yes, exactly. So either way, but it was a fun line. I'll give you that. It was well delivered by Amanda. It was good. So, since you didn't use mine, I will give both. The first one was a very typical line. May the force be with you. But it wasn't the line itself.
Said it too.
It was the way Ray and Court said it. I love that character. I wish we got him a little earlier. I know that's been there was some criticism out there, but kind of a criticism I can kind of understand that introducing a character on the final episode of the season or the final episode, maybe the series, is kind of like pushing something in. I know they mentioned him before, but he feels like such a great actor too. Why just waste him in this little bit?
Prick.
Absolutely. I saw him in Supergirl, a bunch of other stuff. And this is one of the things that makes me go, this is why I need a season 2, because now we have an awesome actor playing a kind of a cool role as like an antagonist of the Jedi. I love that aspect of it. But the way he said that, which is very, I've never heard it. My son actually said, I've never heard that used as an insult before. I'm like, it pretty much was. That's actually one of the better scenes of the episode, right? In court.
Yeah, because he was like, I'm not going to say good luck. What is it you say? May the force be with you. I was like, you're such a prick.
It's a prick. I love it. I like how Vanessa responded to it. Really,
just looking up the actor as well.
I want to say it's David. I recognize him from a bunch of different things. I've never been that great with actor names though. But either way, Ray and Court was a good addition, and I hope we get a season 2 for him because I'd love to see. Surprisingly enough, the Senate stuff really snuck up on me, but I really want to see more of that. I mean, they brought it. They had like a couple of things sprinkled throughout, but it wasn't really kind of a focus until like this last episode. I'm like, oh, that would make for a very interesting point of order for watching the Jedi in season 2 if we get that. So,
David Harewood.
That's it. He was David Harewood. Okay, yeah, he was good job, wonderful job. My other line again wasn't specifically the line; it was how it was delivered. Was Osha when she asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" I'm sorry, why didn't you tell me? Because it was, why didn't you tell the Jedi? And he came up with this, I couldn't move about, why didn't you tell me? And I got to be honest, I will say 100% that I think Amanda Stenberg has been one of my struggles in the season because the twins are the focus of the show, but the twins were always, honestly speaking, for me, the least exciting part of the journey. And part of that was I just never got a lot of performance from her. It was always kind of like a similar performance. I didn't really buy into a lot of her stuff. But she gave a great performance in this episode, I thought. And that line.
Did you see what Eckert's Ladder said about the twins?
No.
I saw a tweet from Eckert's Ladder that was like, the problem with this show is not the lore or the understanding of the lore. It's just I didn't give a shit about the twins.
That's not wrong.
I was like, damn, dude.
I mean, I gave a shit, but not as much as I should have. Which is why I said when you're supposed to be focused on them at the end, it kind of like feels like, well, okay, cool. But it could have been more powerful if I really was bought into the twins aspect of it. Because I didn't love her performance. I was more interested in Soul, more interested in Khmer, more interested in I actually was more interested in Jetty, honestly, at some points. I mean, she's fine, she's good, but it wasn't. I wanted more. I wanted more from her. And her performance was fine. I do want it all. Exactly. But I did. Now. With that being said, I do give credit for her in that line delivery. And in this episode in general, I think her work with Osha was really well done this episode. I bought into her fall, which is something that some people struggled with, just like some people struggle with Anakin's fall. It was too quick. It was too whatever. It didn't feel much. I bought into it. I think you have to engage with it more and go with it more to buy it, because I can see why some people might have a problem with how quickly she did turn to a degree, but I thought it went well as far as I thought they delivered just enough for me to keep going into it. Again, a more stronger performance throughout the series might have made this a little easier and more palatable, but it worked enough for me, and so that's why I'm okay with it.
I'll tell you why it worked for me is when I saw her take off the helmet and I saw the red ring eyes, I thought, she's done. She's gone. She's turned. She's all the way turned now. There's no. Once you see those red ring eyes, there's no going back.
True. All right, let's go to our next there. Put that in your holocron and smoke it.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
This is explore more lore. We look at this and go, well, what else do we want to explore? And this is actually very important considering we are hoping for a season 2. And if we go to season 2 or beyond, maybe a comic, a book or something, or an animated Tales of the whatever, what do you want to discuss more? What do you want to get more out of?
Tales of the Acolyte would be good, because then you could just have a season 2 but have it animated.
I wouldn't be sad.
And then maybe that's how we get more episodes.
Could be.
This is a tough one. I've been thinking quite a lot about this. I really, really, really want to know more about this Rayancourt guy.
Okay. Yeah.
He seemed very not anti-Jedi, but he sees through the bullshit.
Yeah, very much so.
He even questioned it. He was just like, and this was another thing that Leslie Headland I thought did very well. It was just like, all the Jedi, you know, what happens with when one of them snaps, and how will you stop him? Didn't say them.
Right.
Said him.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it was definitively the same type of thing as Mother Anna saying her line about the Jedi are going to destroy themselves with all their nobility or whatever kind of thing. Same type of thing we're doing toward Anakin. Well done. I think it's well done. Nice little twitch towards it.
I think that was a very little jab to say, like, yes, I understand the gravity of the law. Now please shut the fuck up about it.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
That's how I took it, because I think a lot of people before this show were kind of like, oh, but the lore and the canon. I think that was one of the ways Leslie Headland was like, yes, I understand how this story is supposed to connect to episode 1. Now will you shut the fuck up about it?
You know what? I will say that I could agree with that. I will say for some of the struggles I had, that I believe this episode in this series put to bed almost everything canon-wise that was out there. Like everything that was like, oh, this is ruining canon. Everything was answered. Everything was answered to a point where, like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, yep. So, like, just basically shut up and watch the show. And at the end, if you don't like it, then you can worry about it later on. And even in this case, honestly, this is where the open end actually helps. Because if there's some things that don't make sense to you, that doesn't connect for you, you got to realize you got about 132 years left between the end of this show and the Phantom Menace. That's a whole lot of ball game to play with as far as something that could happen that have changed.
100 years.
And so if there's more seasons, great. If not, you got to be open to the idea that there's a lot of story we don't know, might never know, but it does connect, and it can connect. I said this. I think I said this last week or maybe the week before. To me, I feel like we've gone. It's just an old man screaming at clouds kind of thing potentially, but we've gone from being when we were younger and we were loving it. We would take something like this and say at the end, I don't see how this matches up at this point. Between 130, how we got from here 132 years, 2 years later to get to here. We took that as a cool. Let's throw out some theories. Let's figure out how this works. How does this work for you? Great. Cool. Nowadays we look at it and go, oh, the whole thing's broken. No, engage, have fun with it. You can probably figure out a way to make it work. And how does it work for you?
And it is so far away from that story. It's just like, we really have no business speculating as to what's going to happen, since we are so, unfortunately, we do have the curse of knowledge of the High Republic. But again, this is right at the tail end of the High Republic. Like we're like High Republic here, Phantom Menace here. We're like here. Like there's still enough of a gap between the two for us to be like, well, what the hell happened here?
100%.
Back to this Rancourt dude. He seems like he has the potential to be either like a Bail Organa or the one douche nozzle from Andor that I will not name because I will not sully this great show with mentioning that douche.
Right. Totally get it. Totally agreed.
So what's your explore more lore?
It's funny because you told me.
I think I have a feeling, but I want to.
It's something I know you don't care about, and that's fine. I do want to see more about Darth Plagueis. Absolutely. I said it before. I can't remember now if I said this off air to you or on air. I will say, here's the Darth Plagueis of it all. I love the fact that they show him. It's again Leslie basically. I know what's going on. And he was immune. It wasn't like they didn't make Khmer into the human Plagueis. They didn't change anything. They made him, like Legends is, like he's supposed to be, immune. Yes, there's also some, let me tell you, I will say, Maddie, there's been some gripes. And it's more Kia Mundi, whereas Darth Plagueis at this time, Darth Tenebris is the master, Darth Plagueis might not be old enough, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about that. I like the cameo. I don't think the cameo happened in the right place. I will say that I like because I think that introducing him in the background is a good way to connect everything. Absolutely. He is around. He and Tenebris are around during this time. I feel like that should have been the ending cameo because it's okay to kind of like look forward to the future and look forward to the season 2 possibility. And even if we don't get it, it's like saying, all right, we know he's here. He's in there. We know what happens with Plagueis. It's a kind of a cool referential thing. To put it where they did in so much in the beginning, towards the beginning of the show, story structure wise doesn't work because you introduce that character there. You're automatically, as a viewer, going, okay, how is this going to come into play by the end of the episode?
Okay.
How is it going to come into play by the end of the show? I mean, again, if it's season 2, maybe it does give you more, but you see those hands come out, you see those eyes in the background. First of all, you don't say anything about it. Viewers who aren't steeped in canon, what the fuck is that? We get no explanation at all. It's just a creepy guy watching Kavir. That's all we get. Nothing.
I mean, we were a couple of creepy guys creeping on Kavir a few weeks ago. But...
Fair. This is in universe though, so it felt like it was supposed to set up to a plan that you had. You had predicted potentially that the real Sith was going to come in and be like, "Yo, you're fucking up my jam here, dude," and slice everybody up.
I thought that was going to happen at one point when Saul started choking. I was like,
that's what I kind of thought too. Actually, I was like, but because you put it where you did, it's like a dangling plot particle now, and it's like, okay, so even if it does come back to season 2, and the end of the show, you can kind of go, okay, it's a referential thing. We know Plagueis is a Dark Lord, and that's the guy who's going to train Palpatine. Still, without any explanation, we have no idea. The poor viewer who is not steeped in canon has no idea who that is at all. But so, I mean, I love to hate it, but I want to get more. That's why I want a season 2, because I'd love to see Plagueis in canon. I'd love to see the story go I think we could jump some years and eventually get the story of Plagueis and Palpatine. I know that will be divisive as hell too, because if they don't follow the Darth Plagueis book exactly as it is, there's going to be some people who are pissed about it. But I think it could be very well done, and I would love to see what Disney has potentially a plan for it, because I think it could be really, really exciting to see. But that's my Explore More lore.
You kind of mentioned it.
Okay.
I told you this off air.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about Plagueis in this episode. I just thought it was cool.
Right.
I did have that little moment when I thought, oh my God, has he showed up on Brendok?
Right.
I took it as a Leslie Headland dropped him in there because she could. Because she was told she could. Let me raise this point to you. You're a big Doctor Who fan, right?
A big what?
You're a big Doctor Who fan.
Oh, yes, absolutely. 100%.
Say you were given a Star Wars project. Say Lucasfilm said, PLD, you got to go picture, green light, blank check. Dave Filoni walks up to you and says, hey, Paul, how would you feel about having Matt Smith as young Palpatine in a scene, as a little flash of a scene in your show or your movie? You going to say that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be all in. 100% I'd be all in. And again, I would argue that I would like it to have something a little more descriptive, because I feel like if Matt Smith, at least if they said his name or something, like
if they just called him Sheev or something.
Sheev, something like that, something that directs you to like, oh, I can look this up, instead of just this like random character, like we don't like name never said, Dark Lord never said. It's just an alien in a cave watching really quickly for 10 seconds.
I think that was for us though. I think dropping him in was a little present for us that like Leslie Headland know the lore, we know the story, we know the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. I think that was just like, because I think Dave probably told her, go for it. If you want to do it, go for it. And I think that was just her being like, here you go. You've been asking where he is. Now shut the fuck up about it.
Absolutely. And you know what? Again, if it happened at the end of the episode, completely agree and completely all in on it. I still love it. I still like it. But I do question, I question a lot of the story structure of the entire show. If we go into the first mortem more, that's part of my issue was some of the story structure of the entire show, what they were going for. We'll get there though. We will get there.
Let's move on. It would have been good. What? In the tunnel when they were coming out of the castle in Brendok.
Yeah, that could have worked.
Or when Vanestra was looking up, instead of having Khmer there, you just have the hand. And then,
that could have been cool. I would like to have seen him maybe see Khmer and Osha fly out. But you know what actually would have been good as Khmer and Osha looking out at the Kira and Osha are looking out of the sunset, and they're holding hands. All of a sudden, kind of fades back, and then it just you see some guy looking from the shadows, lurking in the shadows, and it's like,
do you think they were holding hands?
I think they got to. Yes, I do.
I don't think they were holding hands. I thought that was Khmer like putting his hand like just on that lightsaber hilt. It's kind of like putting his hand on top of hers and like on the lightsaber hilt, just as like a power play. It's like a show of like.
I think it was a little bit both. I think it was a little bit both. I think he has grown to respect her a little bit. I think he's more of a Kylo Ren character than a true Sith. He's gonna be like, when you go at the end of the day, we bought into him being this badass because of his first real appearance. But he comes in and kicks ass in episode 5. Fuck, this guy's fucking awesome. His Sith like seduction techniques were great. But it feels like the more we get to see him, and definitely this episode, he was a little bit different. He kind of felt more like, I don't want to say a whiny, I don't want to say a whiny, yes, I want to say a whiny, petulant child, but he kind of comes across as more childish about it. Like he basically wants a Padawan. He wants to be not alone. He wants to be a dark side. He wants what he wants. He wants to be selfish that way, but he also wants to kind of have that not being alone side of him. So it's like that struggle between, are you a true full-on dark sider? I don't know, because like a lot of the Sith eventually just cut it all off, and that's how it works. I mean, but that's how Vader came back to the good side. He kind of kept a hold of Luke after all these years. So it's kind of one of those interesting things about the dark side. But I think that he is definitely more apprentice than master at this point. Even though he is the master of Osha at the end, he is still kind of more apprentice-like to a degree. And they're also kind of forming their own thing. They're kind of maybe venturing out, and what could be cool about season 2 is if they are not Jedi, not Sith, still kind of like doing their own thing. Could be interesting.
Put a pin in that.
Okay, will do. I will do. All right, let's go to the next segment then. Seen a lot of action.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
All right, let's do this. I got one. I'll start off this one. My favorite bit of action was less than action, really, but it was still felt like action. It was the bleeding of the saber, the bleeding of the kyber.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Didn't expect to see that. Did not expect to see that at all.
That was cool.
I love the fact when it actually happened, she got so pissed off and so emotional that you look in you see the crystal inside the saber, and it just bleeds. And then she turns on the saber; it's still blue. It's like, oh, but then as the red forms up around it, I thought that was awesome to see. I mean, it was definitely mentioned in canon a few times. Obviously, we've been a new part of canon, but it's never been really shown in any way, shape, or form, and that works. It does bring up there's an interesting critique of it, which is the fact that, like, well, if that happened, why didn't it happen to Anakin when he was turning in Revenge of the Sith? Like, in a way, shouldn't he have let it out? But people deal with trauma differently and different kind of things, and maybe.
And also, Anakin was still torn then. Anakin wasn't like fully committed. Almost, it was like he was just he was still struggling. He was still really struggling.
Right. And yeah, that's why I kind of explained it to myself. I think it's a fair question. It's definitely a fair question to ask, for sure. But I was okay with it. I felt like she was really powerful in her at home, at her place where she grew up, where this big disaster took place. She just found out that even her master was not who she thought he was. She basically lost everybody. And I think that emotional out just kind of went with it. That's how it triggered the Force back for her. It's very powerful. I thought it was very powerful stuff. So that was my favorite action beat of the week. How about you?
It was the lightsaber fight. It was this lightsaber battle between Sol and Khmer.
Very easy. That's my other one. I was kind of torn.
Lu, Yuchang Lu, I think is how you pronounce his name. Apologies if I got that wrong.
For Sol?
Or
the choreographer.
For the choreography.
Oh, okay.
Just all of you get off Nick Gillard's nuts now, please. Like, this is the stunt team behind like Shang-Chi and these big, like, I knew it was legit when I saw Louis Tan raving about the team. So I was like, okay, let me dive more into knowing who these people are. They don't directly work with the Jackie Chan stunt team, but there's elements of their work in there. Like Brad, when I saw Brad Allen speaking about them, that they were doing the Acolyte. When I saw Brad Allen talking about how they were going to be doing this, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The one thing you're going to be shocked at this. I found the hand-to-hand fight scene really robotic.
Interesting. Okay.
And here's why, and I know exactly why it is. I'm not sure if Amandla did a lot of the work herself.
Maybe.
But it seemed like they shot one, shot two, and then pieced it together. Just moments, not all of it, because some of it was very fluid. The bit where they threw the kick at the same time, and the bit where they do the like the wushu style clinch and then move each other, which is like that's done in a lot of like kung fu movies where you like grab each other then move, like you grab hold of a collar or a sleeve or something.
Right.
But there were some moments in there that I thought were very wooden and very kind of robotic, and it kind of like took me out for a second because I was like, oh, you started really well, and then you kind of like took your foot off the gas. And I'm wondering if that was, I don't know if that was a choice or if it was where, Amanda's not a again trained. Right. Well, she's trained for the show, but she's not like a lifelong martial artist kind of. I don't know. It's very much that from doing martial arts my entire life, I am so picky. I've done shows where I've broken down fights in movies. So like I literally read this stuff like Matrix code. So like I see little nuances that like,
of course.
But the lightsaber battle was just incredible. The wire work in this show continues to astound me.
Yep.
I saw a lot of people say that Nerd Chronic. Did you see Nerd Chronic's video that he made?
Yes.
When he put the Nacho Libre song to the moment where they dive down.
Love that so much.
That man is a genius. Let Nerd Chronic edit in the next Star Wars show, please.
Please, I beg of you. I beg of you. No, absolutely. Cool.
They separated, came back, and Soul just did like a wushu style movement, and then just pushed everyone away. I was like, that was cool.
The sabers and stuff going away. Yeah, I love that. He threw the sabers at him and did the whole thing. That was that was powerful. I love the crouching tiger moment. I thought that was really cool to see because we don't get to see that very often in Star Wars. Never get to see it like that. The slow motion in a way really helps deliver what they're trying to do, I think. Fast paced, but every step was important. It feels like I love it. I love the entire fight. So I'm happy to see that go. I understand what you mean about the robotic fight. I definitely you don't see a lot of hand-to-hand combat during a lightsaber fight. You got a little bit during Revenge of the Sith, and again, Obi-Wan had moments of a couple of things here and there, but generally speaking, it's much more saber fighting. But then I will say what I love. One of the shots I loved about the fights was when May and Osha were fighting in the bedroom in the old room, and like they did this kick, and like it edited right to the sabers fight at the time.
Where the two kick together again. I recommended this. I recommended this movie to Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm going to recommend it to everyone. Twin Warriors with Jet Li.
Yeah, okay.
It was very much like that, and yeah, like I said, there were moments in that fight where I was like, it looks a little bit wooden, like a little bit like you've probably done so many takes of this now that you're probably like, let's just fucking get this over with.
Right.
Yeah, the end of it where the two kicks meet, and then it immediately cuts to the two lightsabers meeting. I thought, that was mwah, mwah.
I will also say that I agree with what you said before, specifically about how the choreographer, I should say, fight coordinator for this entire show. I wish I knew his name. Lu Zhensheng. That's it, Lu Zhensheng, who also was Manny Jacinto's stunt double, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not. I also don't want anybody to think out there that we are at all disrespecting Nick Gilliard. I think Nick Gilliard's work was phenomenal on the prequels.
But like everyone acts like it's the gold standard.
I could almost say it is the gold standard, but it's not that it's just not that he's not the only one that can do it.
That's okay, thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. He's not the only one, but like everyone's like, oh, bring back Nick Gilliard, bring back. Why?
Yeah.
Why do we need to bring him back? If
he wants to come back and they want to have him come back, then I'm all for it. Like, I'm happy to have him there, but there are other people who can do it as well. And yeah, I agree. I just want it out there. Like, it's not like we are anti Nick Gilliard.
No, absolutely. I would never disrespect Nick Gilliard that way. But like, what I'm trying to say, you put it properly. You put it the way that I wanted to say it. Like, there are other people,
right?
Exactly. That can do it.
It's fine. But all right, let's go to our last segment before we start doing the breaking down everything else. Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
Again, this series hasn't been full of chuckles, and that's one thing I'm looking forward to with Skeleton Crew. I kind of want that whimsy, that bravado, that kind of like, adventure in space where there's a lot of quips and stuff. I'm hoping to get a little bit more of that, honestly, but fine. There is one moment that I did laugh at in this episode, though, for sure. I'll throw it out there first. Mog's face when Vanessa says, "You left him in the control room," like really upset about it. And he's like, "Yeah."
Dude, I hate Mog so much.
The Jedi accountant.
he's the Jedi equivalent of Steve from accounting.
Yeah, it really is. He's almost like a good guy shit weasel. Pretty much in a way. That's what I look at him as. Like, not like, I mean, shit weasel are usually the bad guys, but like in a way, he's like that the equivalent of a good guy. If there was a term for a good guy shit weasel, I'm like, Mog, you fucking dolt. But it did get me chuckles, so I'm happy to have in this episode. It's a good choice. Good choice.
Ken, I know you're going to be listening to this. I'm sorry, dude. I can't stand Mog.
Can't be on the Mog squad.
But again, goes back to how well the character is playing the role, because I think that's their job. They're just like, what use are you in the field? What is it you say you do here?
Yeah. Exactly. It's good. It's good for that. And Ken, you know what? Hey, I love that you love him. And that's what I would say. If there's people out there love him, good, more power to you. Not for us, but that's all right. All right, let's get into
I haven't done mine yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys started talking about Mog's face. You're right. Absolutely.
Because mine is actually also a Mog moment.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay, that's true. Go ahead.
It's when Mog kneels down to Basil, and he's just like, "Oh, Basil, you're okay." And then he's like, "Come on, let's go."
Right.
Basil gives this look of like, "I just want to fucking go home, man. I don't want to be here anymore. Just let me go."
That guy's seen some things. He's trash.
He needs to be promoted to the High Council for the shit he's gone through.
Absolutely. Love it.
Okay, I got another one. When he pulled the cable out, and Soul just turned and looked at him, and he just looked at him like, "What do you want?" Well, I didn't do it. I love Basil.
All right, that's a perfect time to do this, actually, because that's one of my first things I want to talk about real quick on the path. Let's talk about the path.
I trained her. Let me be the one to bring her in.
This is where we talk about pretty much everything else, and we wrap it up. This is where I have some struggles and some good parts. All right, you mentioned the Basil moment. I did not fucking get it. When Basil starts, why did Basil do that? I don't understand what the motivations was. I don't get what he was going for.
Because he didn't want Soul to kill her.
Is that it? Because it didn't come out clear to me at all. It's just like I was kind of like, "What are you doing? Why are you?" He
probably thought Soul was about to kill her, so he was like, "Hell no."
I don't know. It didn't. I still don't have a good. I don't even know if I can buy that. It couldn't come across that way for me at all. That's a problem I had with the episode. Again, small problem. I got over that. But I was like, one of the things I'm kind of like, wait, what is going on?
What other reason could there be for him to yank that cable out? That one specific cable.
What specific cable was it? It also seemed like they started crashing after that. It wasn't just the guns. It was like
steering fluid. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's not even taking out the guns. He's going to make the ship crash. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't understand what the problem was. I needed a Lassie moment. I needed Soul to be like, "Oh, you're doing this because you're doing that. Why?" So tell me what's going on, because I didn't get it. Oh, Basil Keep is in the well. May's in the well, and that's why I didn't get it. I struggle with it. I still, even after you say that, I'm kind of like, I guess that makes the most sense, but
because if you look at how the scene happens, right? She's flying away. Soul's about to target her. Basil probably just hears the bleeping of the targeting system, and he was like, "Oh hell no!" Like, you're not with me on board, you ain't.
Right.
and just yanked it.
Yeah, I get it. It just the whole thing just seemed kind of weird. His motivations. That's a problem I have with the whole episode. It seems like motivations kind of shift back and forth. They kind of shift back and forth. Like he was attacking her last time. Now he's saving her. It just felt weird to. I don't know. I just. Blah.
Like look at how she acts with Pip, right? When they're in the ship and they're about to crash land on Brendok, she tells Pip to hold on. So she's developed an OSHA-like attachment to Pip. So maybe like Basil maybe sees the good in her. Like Basil obviously heard what Sol had to say. Like just because he doesn't speak basic doesn't mean he can't understand it. So he probably heard what Sol had to say and was like, dude, you're kind of a crazy,
you're kind of a
dickhead.
Okay. I mean, that's
question Basil's motivations.
That's fair. I guess I still don't completely buy it, but we'll move on.
Basil is the hero of this entire show. Okay.
I mean, there's nothing against Basil. I love Basil. I just was like,
you're not acting like it.
I love Basil. I just didn't get what was going on. I don't get it. That's all right. I will say that sequence is pretty much where the $180 million went, though.
The hyperspace lane and everything.
Yeah, that was beautiful and very well. Like that looked beautiful. I was really appreciated a lot of the visuals. The entire episode had some great visuals, some of the best visuals of the series. I'll give you that. So, let's see what else we got to talk about. All right, here is the problem I have.
Go ahead.
Here is the problem I have, and my main problem is May. Part of Amanda Stenberg's, part of that's Amanda Stenberg's performance, but I just don't get May at this point. I still don't get May. I don't want like talking about motivations. She seems to switch on and off like a light switch, and I don't like. You see her in the beginning; she's upset. She hears about Sol confirming that she knew Sol killed the mom. She starts leaving. She finds OSHA. All of a sudden, she's less dark side. Now for someone who wanted to, as a kid, keep her from going to the Jedi, now she wants to be with her again, which I get. I can get that. Then, like at the end, like they're gonna leave. They finally got together, and their decision is go with Sir Hotness over here, and I'm gonna have my memory wiped so that Jedi can't leave. Like, wait, what? You just got back together and you want to
because she knew there's no way they're getting out without having to make that sacrifice. Again, it's a parallel of she's wanting, not a parallel, but like an arc of like she didn't want OSHA to go before. She didn't want her to go off and train. She wanted to keep OSHA by her side. Now she is letting that go for the sake of her sister. She's realizing now that I can't keep you here. We may be the same person. We may share the same genetic code. We may be part of this version of the Force, but you are still your own person. I can't control you. And when I try to control you, bad things happen.
I'm
going to let it go.
I kind of understand that on paper, but I don't think it's executed well at all. And to be completely honest, why couldn't they just all go off together? Like if they got a ship and they're running away, have them all go off. And if if May doesn't want to stick around, she doesn't want this.
Because she said this. She said they'll find her.
Yeah, but like that's if the Jedi catch her.
Like Basil.
Yeah, but they could have left together and Jacob dropped her off on a totally different planet and disappeared in a way. It felt weird to me. I didn't.
But what would have happened if they'd have got hold of May and they'd have started reading her mind? They would have seen where the lair is, and I think that it's also part of that. Like if they'd have got a hold of May and started like reading her thoughts and everything, it would have been like, nope.
So also OSHA is like, okay, I'll go and I'm going to erase my sister's mind. I finally understand my sister. I'm finally back with my sister, and I'll let her go.
She's never been interested in that. That was always May.
Yeah, but I think she would change her mind after seeing that Soul thing and how they Jedi lied to her all these years. And
too far gone.
I don't know. It just
too far gone.
I didn't love it. I didn't love May. May especially. Like Osha, I liked her character and I got through well out of her. May kind of just seemed to flip back and forth for me too much, and I might have been a part of the performance, but I couldn't quite wrap my head around her.
See, for me, it was the opposite. I thought she was better as May than she was as Osha. I found Osha to be stoic to the point of, why do you care? Why are you here? Why don't you just go back to working as a mech on some random outer rim planet? Why are you still here? What's in this for you? You're not acting like there's any stakes here for you. Whereas May was like, I need to get back to my sister. I don't care what I have to do. I need to get back to my sister. Osha was just kind of like, all right, whatever. I'll help you find May. Sure, whatever.
It's fascinating to me that you're talking like this, and I love that you're talking like this. Don't get me wrong, I love it. And the fact that we're differing on this is fascinating to me. But no, and I'm happy that worked for you. I think Osha was pretty stoic throughout the beginning, but towards the end, the last few episodes, ever since she went off with Sir Hotness, it worked well for him, or well for her, and I thought she switched over very well.
Yeah, again, I saw it completely different because at the start she's like getting emotional at the thought of rejoining the Jedi, and then towards the end she's just like, no, I don't care. My entire life has been one big lie. Why should I care about this? It's like, well, if you don't care, then go off and be a mechanic. Don't go join his hotliness.
Yeah.
And I like that one, his hotliness.
I like that. So that's a good one. And you keep that one under wraps. Oh no, so okay. Well, it's interesting we said that. So both on different sides of the coin, but that was my problem with her. Again, is none of these are really deal breakers, but it does show that I struggled with this a little more than I wanted to. I think overall I still have a positive experience with the show. I can't wait for season 2, but there's some more. Another question I had, something I didn't really fully understand it. And to me, I feel like I'm a pretty decent, as far as media literacy goes and things of that nature. I'm pretty good looking at the show and seeing what the intention was. In fact, some people say I'm too positive because I will give more credit to what the intention of what they were doing was than what actually showed up. My brother,
people have often said that we write, people like us, we write for the creators.
Fill in some gaps and stuff for ourselves, and I'm okay doing that. Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of times where Leslie had some great ideas, but just didn't show them well enough to get across what she wanted to get across. And the whole thing, the beginning there with the mask and the witchy, also the black eyes on Sir Hotliness, I didn't understand exactly what was going on, and I don't mind a little bit of vagueness, but I'm kind of like, okay, so she has the sensory deprivation kind of helmet on. Okay, you get that. That's cool. She's going into herself for the first time. She triggers the Force because she actually doesn't have anything else but herself to face. But then all of a sudden, she starts getting the premonition, I guess, which is what she says later. It's a premonition. But the way that Kamir reacts and goes to her also scared, and they switch over, and then he starts getting the black eyes. And what was happening there? Do you know?
That was, I believe, that was May. Trying to influence his mind, which is why you see how the colors change. Like one minute it's
or Osha.
Osha was trying to influence Kamir's mind, get into Kamir, like Mother Anastasia did with Torben. Because if you notice, when she takes the helmet off, she has the red Sith eyes.
Yeah,
and Kamir's the one that's fighting to get the helmet off her. And when the color starts changing, it was it went to that deep, sullen blue, when Mother Anastasia was using her powers.
No, I got that, and that's what kind of struck me as weird, because you're saying that Osha was trying to get into his head, but it felt like she couldn't do that because she was so involved with the premonition, what's going on in her head.
I don't think she knew she was doing it.
Maybe it's a subconscious kind of thing. Okay, maybe. But I guess where did she learn that from? Because she never really
natural, probably.
That. Maybe natural.
Just because of who she her mother is, you gotta think, right?
I guess. And again, I guess I'm just not, for whatever reason, I can't tell you what it is, and I don't think this is a usual thing for me, so I'll let it go to a degree. But I feel like I don't feel like I can write my way to a satisfying conclusion here. Like I should know more about a little bit more specifics about it. I don't know how you do it. And that's why I'm a critic, and that's why I'm doing a YouTube show, or not even a critic. I'm not a critic. I'm a YouTube show guy, talking about it. I'm a fan discussing it. Really, that's all I am.
We're fans with big mouths.
Yeah, real critics they do a wonderful job a lot of times.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, but they do more in depth kind of stuff. This is not that's not me. But
I propose something to you.
Sure.
I think we have seen at the start when people fall into the dark side that they have this great power, and they even mention it at the end of the episode, like Osha, if they find out how powerful you are, you'll suffer the same fate as our mother.
Right.
I think she just at that moment, because she was wearing the sensory deprivation helmet, I think she just lost control, and then that's why when she took the helmet off, you saw the eyes.
Okay.
Because she just lost control of her power. She lost control of her emotions. She didn't know what she was doing. Even Kamir, who is as powerful as he is, was struggling to get the helmet off of her. So I think that's what it was. I think she just lost control of her powers.
Okay.
Whatever her powers are, if they're the witch powers or someone posted a really good. It was actually Jeff sent it to me. A really good Twitter thread from Grey Jedi Raylo, I think the person's username was, of the reason the witches see the Force as a thread is because a thread has no sides.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's just it's just a piece of the Force, a power of the Force that the Jedi haven't tapped into.
Okay.
And she just, because she knows it, she was created by one of these Force cult witches.
Right.
She just lost control.
Okay. I mean, okay. I'll get with that. I can probably get there eventually, but I will say it just kind of threw me off in the beginning for sure.
Once you watch it tonight with your wife, just keep that in mind.
Might not be tomorrow now, but depending on how she gets home. But yeah, I will keep that in mind and try to watch it again. I did watch it. I watched it. I usually try to watch it twice. I only got it through 1.5. I kind of had to do a skim through the second time to remind me. I got a little bit of a skim through as I was going through. But all right, last bit I have to talk about, and I'll turn it over to you before we go to the Fourth Vision. That'll be a different topic. Last thing, let's mention the other cameo in the room. At the end there, we have Grandmaster Yoda, or Master Yoda at this point, making an appearance for Deshra, walking in. Before I get there, though, I want to talk about just really, really briefly. There was the line before where Vernestra basically calls out to somebody and says, "I know it's inconvenient, but I need to speak to him." And I'm guessing they were talking about getting Yoda. I think that's what it was. She was somebody. Mm-hmm. She was somebody. Although I got to tell you, did that voice sound like Palpatine to you? I know it's not Palpatine.
A little bit.
I was like, wait, is that can't? No, I mean,
I did think that, and I went back and I put the subtitles on, because normally the subtitles have the name, right?
The character, right? Yeah, it didn't.
Nothing.
Did it? Yeah, but it can't be Palpatine. That's a birth that you can't really fuck with. It's not an alien; it's a human. And in 132 years, 100 years, it's kind of hard.
You can argue that the dark side kept him alive for a little bit longer, but
yes, you could.
That's one that I think they're like, okay, that one.
And why would Palpatine be Yoda? And why would Palpatine be Yoda? Like, why would you call up to Palpatine to talk to you? Like, it just seems like it's a weird. I don't know. Yeah, it does make sense, but I almost feel like they should have gotten a different voice, because that voice was too close to you.
Again, I think that was the point. I think that was Leslie Headland doing it probably because she could.
Right, and so it wasn't Palpatine. We're both saying that for sure, right? It wasn't Palpatine. Okay, good. Okay, I want to make sure we're on the same page there. Right, but anyway, so you come at the end, and of course, after she tells her lies, she actually has that moment with May where she mentions. She talks about May has her memory erased, but she tells her about her sister, and you're going to have to help me. This is the season 2 plot line. You're going to have to help me find a pupil of mine who turned to evil. She has this idea in mind, obviously not what she told the senators. And she goes in to tell Yoda something. It's kind of assumed that she's going to tell him the real story, which is a little okay. So basically Yoda did know and helped to cover up, which I don't love. Basically, I'm going to put out here. I didn't like the cameo at the end. I thought it was a useless cameo. I thought it was a trash cameo. I'm not going to lie.
You thought it was the death of Balaba?
I love Yoda, and I love Yoda in this. Like, Yoda should have been in the series, or he didn't need to be in the series. Just because he's around doesn't mean he has to be around. Like, especially in a place where you're traveling through hyperspace and all these different doesn't need to be there. That's fine. I would love to have seen him there earlier and like be involved in some things here and there. But this was such a like, hi, look at who we got. We got Yoda. Yeah. Like a moment, I'm kind of like, I didn't really need that. And especially when you're implicating what you're implicating, now it's like, okay, I'm not one to argue canon. Like you don't give a shit about canon. That's fine. I'm not one to argue canon, but like it feels like that Yoda. I don't like the fact that it almost implicates Yoda being a part of a cover up now to a degree.
We don't know
potentially, and we don't. We don't absolutely. But if we don't get the season 2, then it's like left off and there's like a little dangling participle. And again, that part isn't my least favorite. I mean, again, I will take my own advice and I'll look at it and go, who knows what she's saying to him? Who knows what actually is happening? Who knows how he's actually responding? Who knows what the story's going to be? I don't know. And I'll give you fair points that when we go further, if we get more of the story, I will watch it with an open mind and love it probably. Or be open to at least enjoy the shows. I just think that still doesn't negate the fact that I'm like, this is such a trash, like a very much a not needed cameo at the end. Didn't need it. Just didn't need it at all.
Here's the thing. I think you are justified to think that. You are very protective over the connectivity and especially with like characters like Yoda is a character that means a lot to you.
Yeah.
I think Vanestra was going in there to ask him for his advice on how to deal with Camille. He would have heard about what Sol did. He's on the High Council. He would have heard. Like, Vanestra would have had to have run it past the High Council what she was going to say. She would have had to say, or not even been like, run it past him. She's been like, this is what happened.
Let me interject something, though, real quick about that High Council thing. Do we know, did Vanestra tell the High Council the truth, or did she tell them the lie to protect Sol? Not to protect Sol.
I would imagine she probably told them the lie. Double, triple down on it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So then you're asking Yoda, so Yoda doesn't know what happened necessarily.
I don't think Yoda. I don't think he knows the truth. I think he knows what Vanestra told him, or told the High Council.
Right.
Because as we mentioned, there is some tension there between Vanestra and the High Council. There is, I don't want to say bad blood, but
there's something going on. Yeah,
there's something. There's friction, and I think she was going to Yoda to say, "Hey, what do I do about my pupil? Like, I don't want to go and kill him, but
we need to do something, right?" So I think she may be going to tell him the truth potentially, which is fine. And it absolutely can work out. It absolutely. I'm like I was a little vehement a couple minutes ago. I mean, it definitely can work out that way. I will say it's amazing to me. Joseph Scrimshaw saw this, but like I remember a couple episodes ago in the review, when the first, or like the beginning of the season where the review first started becoming an idea. Like she had that talk with the Rain Court wanting to do it. He loved that scene and like thought it had a great, like he was very interested to see where that would go. And I kind of at the time dismissed it. I was like, okay, kind of a nice little touch in there. Maybe adds a little flourishing to it. But he was right in terms of like the end. It's so important now because it is the crux of what's going on, of like why the truth isn't necessarily coming out. They have to keep some things under wraps so they're not like taken over by the Senate to a degree, or have more problems with the Senate to a degree. So again, going with what you were saying before about you're wanting to explore more lore with Rain Court, I think it's fascinating. I think season 2 will have a heavy presence involving that. So I did love that aspect completely as well. So again, it's fine. I just didn't think it was that. I mean, my initial seeing, I'm like, oh, cool. Yay. You know,
I think like, you're worried is the thing. I think you're worried that the potential for Yoda to be incriminated in this.
Maybe potentially, but also the point of like beyond the initial like shot of endorphins of yes, it's like what a tease. Like it's like you're gonna give me this for 2 seconds and not like
Leslie Headland got good.
What's the point?
She even said Leslie Headland said Yoda's not going to appear.
I know.
Yeah. She purposed the very last shot.
It's like either way, it's fine. All right. What about you?
How do you feel about it being the puppet?
I like that.
I do like that a lot.
I like that a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if there is a season 2, it better be the puppet.
Yeah. All right, Maddie. What about? Do you have anything more to wrap up before we get to Force Vision?
No, I think we're good. I think we can go to
then
Force
let
Vision.
Us do it. Force Vision is next in our final. Well, actually, you know what? I lie. We have to do parsecs first. We have to do parsecs.
Oh, yes.
Scale of 1 to 11. We always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. We have to talk about parsecs.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Less than 12. That's 11. Maddie, on a scale of 1 to 11, where do you rank this episode?
I'm going to give this a 9.75.
Wow, we're going into the double decimals at this point.
The double decimals. It's not quite. It's on the lower end of great.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like go into the higher end of great or like awesome perfect for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad I went in blind. Did it knock my socks off? Absolutely not. But I put a tweet out earlier. I had a hell of a time with it. I had a hell of a ride with it. We predicted a lot of things right. But as Leslie Headland does, she makes you wish she didn't.
All right. For me, I'm going to give it a solid 7. I appreciated it for what it was. I had some struggles with it, like I said, overall motivation-wise. I think that meets right in the middle. I loved some parts of it were like a 10. Some parts of it were like a 5 or 4 to me. So I'll meet somewhere in the middle at a 7. I will say that sounds harsher for me than it is, maybe it should. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I overall had a very positive experience. I'm excited about the potential of the season 2, and I like where that's going. I do love a lot of what was going on.
Still a good score, though. It's just not.
Score, yeah. It just didn't quite gel together as much as I wanted it to. But the funny thing is, on Twitter, you'll think I'm completely positive on it because I am overall. The end. I want to see season 2. I think there's a lot. I said it in my tweet. I said there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to explore. There's possibilities are endless, and I love the fact that we've an open-ended possibility of where this could possibly go, which will lead us into Force Visions. And this Force Vision, I'm gonna put a little tight knit on instead of our usual Force Vision, where we just talk about the future in general. Let's talk about a potential season 2 where this show could go. So, that's what we'll do here. Force Vision coming up.
Premonitions.
And I should say season 2 or alternative media if we get it if we get the story in a different way. So Maddie, let's start with you. What do you think about a potential season 2 or continuation of the story?
Generalities. You've kind of thrown me under the bus a little bit here.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay, I can go first then. That's fine. I'll go first.
No. Let's see what rabbit I can pull out of my ass.
Okay.
Oh, here's one. I don't think Plagueis and Camille are connected.
Okay.
I don't think that they have met each other yet.
Okay.
I think that if they are going anywhere close to the Plagueis novel, the corpse of Darth Tenebrous is buried somewhere in that cave. And I think that Plagueis is going to be holding a little bit of a tryout.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Well, that means some bad news for Camille then, because we know eventually who the...
Or does it both end? Because I do love the implication of the hand holding at the end, because it adds the romance and the connection that neither of them have had before. You brought up the Kylo Ren of it, right? There was the dyad, the connection between Rey and Kylo. We could have something similar between Osha and Camille, and if they're forced to be put against each other, to achieve this greater power and become an actual Sith apprentice as opposed to just an acolyte, I think that could be some really, really, really good storytelling, because they do seem to be getting closer.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. They have, and she has no one left now. That's the thing. Osha's in this spot where she has no one left. Her friend was killed. Her sister doesn't remember who she is anymore. The Jedi are nothing about her. And she just has all this power. The witches are dead for the most part, except for Quarrel. Leslie Headland in her interviews have kind of been for that. We didn't see a body for her, so maybe she's not quite dead yet. So that could be a season.
But she did say something to the effect of, "We know her species, so you know where she's going to end up."
Yeah, so we could go back to Dathomir for sure. That'd be a nice little place to do things. What I will say to continue on, unless you have another one you want to talk about.
Please do.
I will say again, I agree with Plagueis idea. But I think that Plagueis and him aren't connected. Maybe the possibility would be, obviously, as a failed Jedi, I'm sorry, not a failed Jedi, but he left the Jedi. Did he find Tenebris first, and did he get kicked out of being a Sith that way? And maybe Tenebris has just recruited Plagueis, and maybe Chimera is his first assignment, as in, let's find this guy and let's take him out before he ruins things, especially now that he's made so much noise, much more than he would like to have heard. And I think I like your idea about Chimera and Oshima together, and maybe she has an angle where maybe that's what happens. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe Chimera actually ends up sacrificing himself for Osha to a degree, kind of a little bit of a redemption, but not a full-on redemption. I don't want a Chimera to get this full-on I'm back to being a Jedi, but maybe like he's still a Sith and still selfish, but he does have a dark love for Osha, and gets killed during a battle with Plagueis potentially.
You know, that could actually, you say that, if Chimera being Plagueis' assignment, that could also explain why he only showed up as they were leaving. Maybe he got there and as the two of them were leaving.
Right.
And he's like, shit, I missed
it. Right. Yeah, could absolutely be. So that's part of it. And I'll have to see where May and Vernestra are going to go from there. Maybe we'll get the end of Vernestra. I mean, I always wondered why they picked Vernestra. Why did she pick Vernestra specifically? Well, it's the High Republic Jedi who is got to be towards the ending of her life. Maybe you have her story in the beginning of the books. You get to end her beloved character's story in the TV show potentially. So that could be a big thing here. And secondly, I want to see more Senate stuff. And if Vernestra is going off on a mission, what's going to go on with the Senate? Who else is going to push that at this point? Please don't let it be Mog, though. Sorry, Ken. I don't want Mog anymore. Mog, I'm good with Mog. But maybe have somebody else get involved at that side of things. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways we could go, but I think Plagueis is involved. I think there's a time jump involved, though, to be honest with you. I kind of feel like we're going to jump some time.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be if there was a season 2, like, I think Vernestra will have been on the search for a little bit. Chimera and Osha will have trained for a little bit. Maybe they're flying around mobile. Maybe that's why Plagueis hasn't quite tracked them down yet, supposedly. I mean, a lot of different potentials going on there. But yeah, I think that's my minor
lifespan just a second ago, and it says that all it says is over 100 years. It doesn't give anything specific.
Okay.
So,
okay. I think it'd be nice to see her get her end. It'd be nice, like a good way to have a complete life in the canon, so to speak. I mean, we don't see, obviously, there's a lot of stuff in between the High Republic books and the Acolyte, which we can still explore, but having a beginning and end, it's a nice little segment there. So I think that's about it as far as things go, unless you have anything further you want to talk about the episode.
No, just renew the thing already. Let's get to it.
I honestly, my thought process is there will be a second season, and not just because I want it, but because, I mean, look at Andor actually had lower numbers and got a season 2. And I feel like that was the pitch to get 2 seasons. I think Leslie pitched a couple of seasons ideally here. She says some things publicly. I think there's a little bit more of a twisted words as far as what happens behind the scenes. I think there's probably a pitch for another season. I think the numbers might justify it enough to the point of they might go, okay, one more season. We're not going to guarantee anything more at this point. So make this be a good one.
You could leave off on this season though. I think if it didn't get renewed, I think I'd be disappointed, of course, but I think the way this story ends, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely.
I'd be happy for it to be a standalone thing.
Absolutely. But okay, let's get into now. We got 2 pieces of news. The news at the end of the show. Breaking news from last week. Some of it news, some of it kind of just more discussion. Basically, it's 2 quotes. The first quote, Sean Levy, who obviously has the charge of Deadpool and Wolverine. That's a big movie coming out soon. Yeah. Someone actually got there and asked him about Star Wars, not surprisingly. And I'm going to give you the quote and I'll discuss it. I'm happy that's one secret I don't have to keep keeping. Jonathan Tropper is writing my Star Wars film. We did the Adam Project together, and we have an idea that is really exciting to us and exciting to Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. One never knows if development reaches the starting gate, but my hope is that it will. All right, so let's unpack a little bit of this. I will say, first off, I know one never knows if development reaches the starting gate. My hope is that it will. Okay, people out there, this is not officially announced yet. All we're talking about is Sean Levy has a film in development. He has a writer on. They've probably gotten to the idea. If they have the idea and Kennedy and Filoni are both excited about the idea, then they've probably got to the place where they can write a script, at least a spec script or something, to possibly deliver that idea. I like that. That is the way, because I remember when Sean was asked before, it's like, oh yeah, I'm developing a Star Wars film, blah, blah, blah. And kind of, I think people were read into that and say, oh, not announced, but it's a Star Wars film. Whereas now he's like, we're discussing it, and hopefully it's going to be made. And if that's the case,
I just looked up this guy's work. Both you and I are going to be very happy. Don't look it up.
Oh, I know. I already know. I already looked up previously when I started the article. Yes, not only had he done the Adam Project, but he did the Warrior
and
Kodachrome with Ed Harris. Yes. And I know you. I knew as soon as I saw that. Actually, that's one reason I was like, I have to talk about talk to this with Matty about this, because he loves.
We did the Judge versus Kodachrome on Class Action.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And of course, Ed Harris. Could this be the time, PLD?
Ed Harris is brought
into Star Wars. Sean Levy be the one to bring Ed Harris to Star Wars?
Don't give me hope. Where's the Jeremy Renner Hawkeye meme? Don't give me hope. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love Kodachrome. I think it's a wonderful movie, great movie. Jason Sudeikis, Ed Harris, and also, speaking of Marvel, Elizabeth Olsen's in that as well. Scarlet Witch herself.
You know who Ed Harris could play?
Tell me.
Alex Damon put out a short about General Veers the other day.
Absolutely. 100%.
Ed Harris is an older Veers.
Absolutely. It would be wonderful. It would be perfect. Absolutely. Sign me up right there. Don't give me hope. But I do like Jonathan Tropper's work as far as that goes. Kodachrome I loved. You loved Warrior. And I love the Adam Project. I think that's a perfect... did you get to see the Adam Project?
I did, yeah. Me and Jarvie did
right.
Free Guy versus Adam Project for
both Sean Levy's. I think Adam Project is exactly the kind of tone that would be perfect for a Star Wars movie. So if that's with Levy and Tropper together, I think that's a beautiful sound. That's that whimsy I was talking about, what Force Center was talking about too. That whimsy adventure of let's just throw a unknown person out there that have to go to a big adventure, and they get at the end of the day, you want to come home, all you want to do is you play with your lightsaber and read trading cards or read books again. You don't have to worry about this. I just have a good time. I think it's exactly what this would be.
An unknown character that's probably going to end up being played by Ryan Reynolds.
That would be so. I would be surprised it's a cameo, at least for sure. Yeah. But what a good. Anything more about the actual quote? Or are you good with that?
No, I'm good. Okay. He did Warrior. Like I'm in. I'm in.
Okay. He also one I haven't watched recently. He did The Old Man, which is a show. I believe he did The Old Man. Did he do The Old Man? Is that? Or am I confusing with somebody else?
I think you might be confusing them.
I am. The Old Man series. Somebody involved in Star Wars.
Yeah, he did Warrior. This Is Where I Leave You. Banshee. I haven't seen Kodachrome. I've obviously seen Adam Project.
Oh, John Watts, who was doing Skeleton Crew. He was involved in The Old Man. That's what that.
Oh, okay.
Got confused for a second. My bad. But either way, I do think it's exciting news, and I'm looking forward to Sean Levy's movie if it gets to the starting gate. But I do, once again, I'll just point out real quick, I love the fact that he finally said, if it gets there, it gets there, great. But we are just in development, no news yet. So, all right,
next we could get Jason Sudeikis in Star Wars. That would be
Ted Lasso in space.
Oh, darn.
Oh boy. All right, the other piece of news we got there, Lee Isaac Chung, who's got another movie coming out this week in Twisters. He is one of the directors of Skeleton Crew, which is our next live-action development. We have kind of got this from Star Wars News Now, where I correlate all my news for the show because they're great. They do a great job generally of putting things together. I'll talk about the quotes that he had, and there's a quote. There's something at the end of the article which I want to bring up really briefly. That's kind of related, but all right. So he said, when talking about Skeleton Crew, quote, "I can't wait for people to see this thing. It's got a lot of John Watts in it. And anyone who's a fan of what John Watts does, he's very childlike in a beautiful way, in the way he tells stories, and it captures a childlike perspective in things. He brings that beautiful perspective to this story of young people in the Star Wars universe. I felt like I hadn't seen this. When I read all the scripts and when I was looking at the design of what he was designing, he asked if I would be on board, and it was a no-brainer for me once I saw what he was working on. And also working with him on that show with Jude and all the incredible actors who we have, it was a lot of fun. We are just having fun all the time. The kids were incredible. Great. What I hope is that it's really going to touch families, and families are going to want to spend a lot of time with the show. Now, I will say really quickly, John Watts, besides my old man gaffe I just made there just before, I've seen a couple of things that John Watts has done. He's obviously most well known for his Spider-Man trilogy of Tom Holland, Spider-Man. He also did a movie called Cop Car, starring Kevin Bacon. And
God, I remember that.
Right. And it's true. He does a wonderful job with kids. And with like that kind of like naivety, that kind of like young, youthful, innocent mischief. I think it's perfect for the Amblin Spielberg type of Star Wars adventure. So I'm really getting more and more hyped about this thing. I think this could be a lot of fun. I don't think there's going to be I don't think we're going to get a lot of lore in this. And I'm okay with that. I kind of feel like we're due for kind of a breath of fresh air of just kind of like, let's have a fun adventure in the galaxy far, far away. There'll be some dark moments, but a lot of lighthearted moments as well. And I can't wait for it. What do you think about his comments and what I mentioned about Cop Car and everything else?
I think the mention of Cop Car is great because now I'm just thinking, please, can we get Kevin Bacon in this show? Please. I have no idea what Kevin Bacon is like a pirate or something. I don't know. Just Kevin Bacon in Star Wars, please. It's been described as like an Amblin type show, like Goonies, Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. I think it is very prevalent timing because I think Stranger Things season 5, I think, is halfway done now. So I think it's a good time to jump on that. And I love that John Watts is this guy who came from directing music videos for bands like Head Automatica and Death Cab for Cutie and Switchfoot, and now he's not only worked on the 3 biggest Spider-Man movies, he's also working on a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who really has a lot of tools to use, but you know what he's good at, which is these like whimsical, heartfelt, deep message stuff with characters that are more youthful, I think. Right. So he's going to really find a way to relate and bring that younger audience back into Star Wars, which I think is something that has been needed. There's a lot of people within our age bracket that we've had our fair share now. Acolyte, Bad Batch, Andor, Clone Wars. Like, we've had enough time to grow up with these movies and these shows. I think with John Watts doing this, I think he's going to be the next one to be like, okay, the next group of kids, come along. Not the sequel trilogy kids. I think that they're going to have their time with the new Rey movie. But I think this is going to be the show. As you mentioned, he wants the whole family to love this show.
Right.
I think this is going to be a moment where he's like, right, kids, next generation, come along for the ride.
Love it. I love it. I think I'm all there with you on that. So hopefully that's the way it goes. And I think that's a cool way to end this week's episode of Holy Snokes. Maddie, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me at Matty Morner. All my social media handles are there. You can find my band Morner, Mourner, on all streaming platforms and social media at Morner Band. We've got some potential shows to announce soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I've been messaging promoters like crazy, so hopefully we'll have something soon to announce. That's it, really.
All right. And Paul Denuzio on Twitter for myself, and I got a bunch of shows coming up here. I did take a little bit of a break, but on some shows, we got this every week, of course. Review had to take a 2-week break due to scheduling issues. It shall return, I believe, next week, if my schedule is correct. I would go through the 2009 reboot of V. I do... PJ Campbell and I did the big blue box of PJ and PLD for Doctor Who. That's done now for now until the next season comes out or some news drops or something. We might have a special episode here and there, but To Be Dick or White Dudes on Film will return in August. Crown Jewels, I said I was going to take a break last week. I wasn't even going to take a break. I said I was going to take 2 weeks to get the next episode in because it was going to be a big one. But I actually got it in, so we're going to get it on Friday. Another One Bites the Dust will be debut on Friday. I had to listen to about 41 versions of the song to get there. Yeah, there's a lot of remixes and retakes and live versions, and yeah, it was tough. I did it for you. I did it for you on Crown Jewels, the sister channel, the YouTube channel, also on the audio feed itself. And because of the lack of Team Media for White Dudes and review being bumped back a little bit, I am going to have a new show, which we already recorded, myself and Maddie Gunner and our special guest, Ken Knapsack. It's called The One-Offs. The One-Offs is going to be making its debut this month. I believe, I want to say it's going to be next Tuesday is when I'm planning on dropping it. I still have to get things together with Brad Gilmore about an audio feed for the show as well. That's kind of what I'm waiting for that. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great time.
Good conversation.
Good conversation. If you're a fan of the band Oasis, or if you're just a fan of music, you might enjoy it. If you're just a fan of Ken Knapsack, hang out with us. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do this week. And next week we're back here on Holy Snokes. I don't know what the hell we're doing. We've been so concentrating on the Acolyte that we don't know exactly what our next episode is gonna be. But we will figure that out in the off time this week, and we'll get back to you regular scheduled time. New episode will drop, and I guess that's that. Until next time, of course, as always, may the Force be with you, always.